The 1 Year Bible, NRSV, Catholic Edition.
October 11th.
Jeremiah chapter 51. Thus says Yahweh, I'm going to stir up a destructive wind against Babylon and against the inhabitants of Leb-Kamai, and I will send winnowers to Babylon, and they shall winnow her. They shall empty her land when they come against her from every side on the day of trouble. Let not the archer bend his bow, and let him not array himself in his coat of mail. Do not spare her young men, but utterly destroy her entire army. They shall fall down slain in the land of the Chaldeans and wounded in her streets. Israel and Judah have not been forsaken by their God, Yahweh of hosts, though their land is full of guilt before the Holy One of Israel. Flee from the midst of Babylon, save your lives, each of you. Do not perish because of her guilt, for this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He is repaying her what is due. Babylon was a golden cup in Yahweh's hand, making all the earth drunken. The nations drank of her wine, and so the nations went mad. Suddenly Babylon has fallen and is shattered, so wail for her. Bring balm for her wound, perhaps she may be healed. We tried to heal Babylon, but she could not be healed. Forsake her and let each of us go to our own country, for her judgment has reached up to heaven and has been lifted up even to the skies. Yahweh has brought forth our vindication. So come, let us declare in Zion the work of Yahweh our God. Sharpen the arrows, fill the quivers. Yahweh has stirred up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, because his purpose concerning Babylon is to destroy it, for that is the vengeance of Yahweh, vengeance for his temple. Raise a standard against the walls of Babylon. Make the watch strong. Post sentinels, prepare the ambushes. For Yahweh has both planned and done what he spoke concerning the inhabitants of Babylon. You who live by mighty waters, rich in treasures, your end has come. The thread of your life is cut. Yahweh of hosts has sworn by himself, surely I will fill you with troops like swarms of locusts, and they shall raise a shout of victory over you. It is he who made the earth by his power, who established the world by his wisdom. And by his understanding he stretched out the heavens. When he utters his voice, there is a tumult of waters in the heavens, and he makes the mist rise from the ends of the earth. He makes lightnings for the rain and brings out the wind from his storehouses. Everyone is stupid and without knowledge. Goldsmiths are all put to shame by their idols, for their images are false and there is no breath in them. They are worthless, a work of delusion. At the time of their punishment, they shall perish. Not like these is Yahweh, the portion of Jacob, for he is the one who formed all things, and Israel is the tribe of his inheritance. Yahweh of hosts is his name. Israel, the Creator's instrument. You are my war club, my weapon of battle. With you I smash nations. With you I destroy kingdoms. With you I smash the horse and its rider. With you I smash the chariot and the charioteer. With you I smash man and woman. With you I smash the old man and the boy. With you I smash the young man and the girl. With you I smash shepherds and their flocks. With you I smash farmers and their teams. With you I smash governors and deputies. The doom of Babylon. I will repay Babylon and all the inhabitants of Chaldea before your very eyes for all the wrong that they have done in Zion, says Yahweh. I am against you, O destroying mountain, says Yahweh that destroys the whole earth. I will stretch out my hand against you and roll you down from the crags and make you a burned-out mountain. No stone shall be taken from you for a corner and no stone for a foundation, but you shall be a perpetual waste, says Yahweh. Raise a standard in the land. Blow the trumpet among the nations. Prepare the nations for war against her. Summon against her the kingdoms, Ararat, Meni, and Ashkenaz. Appoint a marshal against her. Bring up horses like bristling locusts. Prepare the nations for war against her. The king of the Medes with their governors and deputies in every land under their dominion. The land trembles and writhes, for Yahweh's purposes against Babylon stand, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without inhabitant. The warriors of Babylon have given up fighting. They remain in their strongholds. Their strength has failed. They have become women. Her buildings are set on fire. Her bars are broken. One runner runs to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to tell the king of Babylon that his city is taken from end to end. The fords have been seized, the marshes have been burned with fire, and the soldiers are in panic. For thus says Yahweh of hosts, the God of Israel, daughter Babylon is like a threshing floor at the time when it is trodden. Yet a little while, and the time of her harvest will come. King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon has devoured me. He has crushed me. He has made me an empty vessel. He has swallowed me like a monster. He has filled his belly with my delicacies. He has spewed me out. May my torn flesh be avenged on Babylon, the inhabitants of Zion shall say. May my blood be avenged on the inhabitants of Chaldea, Jerusalem shall say. Therefore, thus says Yahweh, I'm going to defend your cause and take vengeance for you. I will dry up her sea and make her fountain dry. And Babylon shall become a heap of ruins, a den of jackals, an object of horror and of hissing without inhabitant. Like lions they shall roar together. They shall growl like lions' whelps. When they are inflamed, I will set out their drink and make them drunk until they become merry and then sleep a perpetual sleep and never wake, says Yahweh. I will bring them down like lambs to the slaughter, like rams and goats. How Sheshach is taken, the pride of the whole earth seized, how Babylon has become an object of horror among the nations. The sea has risen over Babylon. She has been uncovered by its tumultuous waves. Her cities have become an object of horror, a land of drought and a desert, a land in which no one lives and through which no mortal passes. I will punish Bel in Babylon and make him disgorge what he has swallowed. The nations shall no longer stream to him. The wall of Babylon has fallen. Come out of her, my people. Save your lives, each of you, from the fierce anger of Yahweh. Do not be faint-hearted or fearful at the rumors heard in the land. 1 year one rumor comes, the next year another, rumors of violence in the land and of rulers against rulers. Assuredly, the days are coming when I will punish the images of Babylon. Her whole land shall be put to shame, and all her slain shall fall in the midst. Then the heavens and the earth and all that is in them shall shout for joy over Babylon, for the destroyers shall come against them out of the north, says Yahweh. Babylon must fall for the slain of Israel, as the slain of all the earth have fallen because of Babylon. You survivors of the sword, go, do not linger. Remember Yahweh in a distant land, and let Jerusalem come into your mind. We are put to shame, for we have heard insults, dishonored, and covered our face, for aliens have come into the holy place of Yahweh's house. Therefore the time is surely coming, says Yahweh, when I will punish her idols, and through all her land the wounded shall groan. Though Babylon should mount up to heaven, and though she should fortify her strong height, from me destroyers would come upon her, says Yahweh. Listen, a cry from Babylon, a great crashing from the land of the Chaldeans, for Yahweh is laying Babylon waste and stilling her loud clamor. Their waves roar like mighty waters, the sound of their clamor resounds. For a destroyer has come against her, against Babylon. Her warriors are taken, their bows are broken. For Yahweh is a God of recompense, and he will repay in full. I will make her officials and her sages drunk, also her governors, her deputies, and her warriors. They shall sleep a perpetual sleep and never wake, says the King, whose name is Yahweh of hosts. Thus says Yahweh of hosts, the broad wall of Babylon shall be leveled to the ground, and her high gates shall be burned with fire. The peoples exhaust themselves for nothing, and the nations weary themselves only for fire. Jeremiah's command to Sariah. The word that the prophet Jeremiah commanded Sariah, son of Neriah, son of Messiah, when he went with the king Zedekiah of Judah to Babylon in the 4th year of his reign. Sariah was the quartermaster. Jeremiah wrote in a scroll all the disasters that would come on Babylon, all these words that are written concerning Babylon. And Jeremiah said to Sariah, when you come to Babylon, see that you read all these words, and say, O Yahweh, you yourself threaten to destroy this place, so that neither human being nor animals shall live in it, and it shall be desolate forever. When you finish reading this scroll, tie a stone to it and throw it into the middle of the Euphrates and say, thus shall Babylon sink to rise no more because of the disaster that I'm bringing on her. Thus far the words of Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 52. The destruction of Jerusalem reviewed. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign. He reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Hamutal, daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. He did what was evil in the sight of Yahweh, just as Jehoiakim had done. Indeed, Jerusalem and Judah so angered Yahweh that he expelled them from his presence. Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon, and in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, on the 10th day of the month, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon came with all his army against Jerusalem and laid siege to it. They built siege works against it all around. So the city was besieged until the 11th year of King Zedekiah. On the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine became so severe in the city that there was no food for the people. Then a breach was made in the city wall, and all the soldiers fled and went out from the city by night by the way of the gate between the two walls by the king's garden, though the Chaldeans were all around the city. They went in the direction of Arabah, but the army of the Chaldeans pursued the king and overtook Zedekiah in the plains of Jericho, and all his army was scattered, deserting him. Then they captured the king and brought him up to the king of Babylon at Riblah in the land of Hamath, and he passed sentence on them. The king of Babylon killed the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and also killed all the officers of Judah at Riblah. He put out the eyes of Zedekiah and bound him in fetters, and the king of Babylon took him to Babylon and put him in prison until the day of his death. And in the 5th month, on the 10th day of the month, which was the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, Nebuzaradan, the captain of the bodyguard who served the king of Babylon, entered Jerusalem. He burned the house of Yahweh, the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem. Every great house he burned down. All the army of the Chaldeans who were with the captain of the guard broke down all the walls around Jerusalem. Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carried into exile some of the poorest of the people, and the rest of the people who were left in the city, and the deserters who had defected to the king of Babylon, together with the rest of the artisans. But Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, left some of the poorest people of the land to be vine dressers and tillers of the soil. The pillars of bronze that were in the house of Yahweh, and the stands and the bronze sea that were in the house of Yahweh, the Chaldeans broke into pieces and carried all the bronze to Babylon. They took away the pots, the shovels, the snuffers, the basins, the ladles, and all the vessels of bronze used in the temple service. The captain of the guard took away the small bowls also, the fire pans, the basins, the pots, the lampstands, the ladles, and the bowls for libation, both those of gold and those of silver. As for the 2 pillars, the 1 sea, the 12 bronze bulls that were under the sea, and the stands which King Solomon had made for the house of Yahweh, the bronze of all these vessels was beyond weighing. And as for the pillars, the height of the 1 pillar was 18 cubits, its circumference was 12 cubits, it was hollow, and its thickness was 4 fingers. Upon it was a capital of bronze. The height of the capital was 5 cubits. Lattice work and pomegranates, all of bronze, encircled the top of the capital. And the 2nd pillar had the same with pomegranates. There were 96 pomegranates on the sides. All the pomegranates encircling the lattice work numbered 100. The captain of the guard took the chief priest Sariah, the 2nd priest Zephaniah, and the 3 guardians of the threshold. And from the city he took an officer who had been in command of the soldiers, and 7 men of the king's council who were found in the city. The secretary of the commander of the army who mustered the people of the land. The captain of the guard took the chief priest Sariah, the 2nd priest Zephaniah, and the 3 guardians of the threshold. And from the city he took an officer who had been in command of the soldiers, and 7 men of the king's council who were found in the city, the secretary of the commander of the army who mustered the people of the land, and 60 men of the people of the land who were found inside the city. Then Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, took them and brought them to the king of Babylon at Riblah. And the king of Babylon struck them down and put them to death at Riblah in the land of Hamath. So Judah went into exile out of its land. This is the number of the people whom Nebuchadnezzar took into exile. In the 7th year, 3,023 Judeans. In the 18th year of Nebuchadnezzar, he took into exile from Jerusalem 832 persons. In the 23rd year of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, took into exile of the Judeans 745 persons. All the persons were 4,600. Jehoiakim favored in captivity. In the 37th year of the exile of King Jehoiakim of Judah, in the 12th month, on the 25th day of the month, King Evil Merodach of Babylon, in the year he began to reign, showed favor to King Jehoiakim of Judah and brought him out of prison. He spoke kindly to him and gave him a seat above the seats of the other kings who were with him in Babylon. So Jehoiakim put aside his prison clothes, and every day of his life he dined regularly at the king's table. For his allowance, a regular daily allowance was given him by the king of Babylon as long as he lived, up to the day of his death. Wisdom chapter 4. Better than this is childlessness with virtue. For in the memory of virtue is immortality, because it is known both by God and by mortals. When it is present, people imitate it, and they long for it when it has gone. Throughout all time it marches, crowned in triumph, victor in the contest for prizes that are undefiled. But the prolific brood of the ungodly will be of no use, and none of their illegitimate seedlings will strike a deep root or take a firm hold. For even if they put forth boughs for a while, standing insecurely they will be shaken by the wind, and by the violence of the winds they will be uprooted. The branches will be broken off before they come to maturity, and their fruit will be useless, not ripe enough to eat, and good for nothing. For children born of unlawful unions are witnesses of evil against their parents when God examines them. But the righteous, though they die early, will be at rest. For old age is not honored for length of time or measured by number of years, but understanding is gray hair for anyone, and a blameless life is ripe old age. There were some who pleased God and were loved by him, and while living among sinners were taken up. They were caught up so that evil might not change their understanding, or guile deceive their souls. For the fascination of wickedness obscures what is good, and roving desire perverts the innocent mind. Being perfected in a short time, they fulfilled long years, for their souls were pleasing to Yahweh. Therefore he took them quickly from the midst of the wickedness. Yet the people saw and did not understand or take such a thing to heart, that God's grace and mercy are with his elect, and that he watches over his holy ones. The triumph of the righteous. The righteous who have died will condemn the ungodly who are living, and youth that is quickly perfected will condemn the prolonged old age of the unrighteous. For they will see the end of the wise, and they won't understand what the Lord purposed for them and for what he kept them safe. But the unrighteous will see and will have contempt for them, but the Lord will laugh them to scorn. After this they will become dishonored corpses and an outrage amongst the dead forever, because he will dash them speechless to the ground and shake them from the foundations. They will be left utterly dry and barren, and they will suffer anguish, and the memory of them will perish. The final judgment. They will come with dread when their sins are reckoned up, and their lawless deeds will convict them to their face. Colossians chapter 3. The new life in Christ. Therefore, if you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above where Christ is, seated at the right hand of God. And set your minds on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. For you have died, and your life is now hidden with Christ in God. And when Christ, who is your life, is revealed, then you also will be revealed with him in glory. So put to death, therefore, whatever in you is earthly: fornication, impurity, passion, evil desire, and greed, which is idolatry. On account of these, the wrath of God is coming on those who are disobedient. These are the ways you also once followed back when you were living that life. But now you must get rid of all such things: anger, wrath, malice, slander, and abusive language coming from your mouth. Do not lie to one another, seeing that you have stripped off the old self with its practices and have clothed yourself with the new self, which is being renewed in knowledge according to the image of its creator. And in that renewal there is no longer Greek and Jew, circumcised and uncircumcised, barbarian or Scythian, slave or free, but Christ is all and is in all. As God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. Bear with one another, and if anyone has a complaint against another, forgive each other. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you must also forgive. And above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. And let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you are called in one body. And be thankful. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly. Teach and admonish one another in all wisdom, and with gratitude in your hearts, sing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs to God. And whatever you do in word or in deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. Rules for Christian households. Wives, be subject to your husbands as is fitting in the Lord. Husbands, love your wives and never treat them harshly. Children, obey your parents in everything, for this is your acceptable duty in the Lord. Fathers, do not provoke your children, or they may lose heart. Slaves, obey your earthly masters in everything, not only while being watched and in order to please them, but wholeheartedly fearing the Lord. And whatever your task is, put yourselves into it as being done for the Lord and not for your masters, since you know that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You serve the Lord Christ, for the wrongdoer will be paid back for whatever wrong he has done, and there is no partiality.
Thanks for joining us for today's reading of the One Year Bible. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button and subscribe to the Flame Keepers YouTube channel. Also, let us know your thoughts about today's reading by leaving us a comment below.